Okay, let's just start with that one where we pull in the rope, reaching forwards and pulling towards yourself and sinking into the same foot. So I'm pulling the rope with my hand and I'm pulling the ground with my foot. It would be much better if we actually had a rope that offered some resistance. But in the absence of it, you just got to imagine the resistance so that you can kick the correct muscles in. Part of me reaches out, part of me pulls in. Your conscious mind is with what's coming in, and your energetic mind is with what's going out. If I try to become too conscious of what's going out, I will tend to inhibit it. And now just turning. As soon as we turn, we highlight the centrifugal and the centripetal. And it's the same two minds. The centripetal is the mind that's gathering in, and the centrifugal is the mind that's expanding out. So we're just trying to separate those two. It's the same exercise as the one we started with. It's just much more circular now. I'm doing the same thing with my hips. Just turning from side to side. So the side I'm turning towards is gathering in. The side that I'm turning away from is reaching out. So I'm throwing my back into the world and I'm gathering in my front. And I want to feel the effort again, the same way I was trying to feel the muscular effort involved in pulling in the rope. I want to feel it here as well, because what I want is to get as much of the muscular action into my waist, into this region here, just above the hips, as possible. Remember when we were kids, back in the 60s, where we'd make little men out of pipe cleaners. You get two pipe cleaners, put them together, and you twist them around each other in the middle. Then you'd have two legs and two arms and a bit of a torso. It's very much like that with the human body. I've got these two legs, these two arms, and they've sort of twisted around each other here. And that's the waist, really. The waist is the whole torso from the hips up to the shoulders, or just beneath the shoulders, the armpits to the top of the hips. This whole region is the waist. And I want to feel like it's this wrapped around muscle. You think of it going one way and going the other. So when I get it activated, I get it taut and toned up. It behaves a bit like a corset, sort of keeps you in, but also it's a really strong musculature around the body. Now let's just come to riding horse. Feel the two legs coming up into the two arms. You can feel the left leg coming up into the left arm, or you can feel the left leg coming up into the right arm. They're both valid. They're both there. My front is gathering in, and my back is swelling out. Now, let's work into this circle one. Let's just have the hands out. And now just think of your spine staying in the middle, and you're just going to turn. We're going to turn from the hips now, because I just want to scan the front of the room with my hands. Just trying to keep my shoulders in line with my hips. So I don't want my shoulders to go any further than my hips. Remember, we always need the two minds. One mind that's turning towards and gathering in, and one mind that's turning away and is reaching out. So when we turn, those two minds correspond to the two sides of the body. So when I turn to the left, my left side is gathering in, my right side is extending outwards, and vice versa. If your shoulders twist more than your hips, you'll get a sense that they've risen up a little bit. So if you drop the shoulders down each time you reach the edge, and now the difficult bit. Now we just want to go up and down, just staying forwards. Straighten my legs, and then I bend my legs. So the range doesn't have to be enormous, but it will gradually increase as you repeat. I'd like to be able to go all the way down with just one smooth movement. And now putting those two movements together, the turning and the up and down, to create a circle. And now I go down. I'm creating this circle, but it's all coming from my waist and my legs. And then this time when we get to the bottom, just change direction. And then just gradually wind it down. And now backwards and forwards. Bow and arrow. 1 foot forwards, 1 foot back. So it's called bow and arrow because it feels like a bow that's being pulled. A loaded bow that's going to release the arrow. So it's tense. It's a state of tension. It's always wanting to turn back into riding horse, to turn towards the corner. I have to maintain this tension. So my mind has to keep me facing the front to maintain this tension. So what that means is it will tend to slacken when I get to the end of a movement. So when I come into my front foot, this hip wants to stay behind a little bit, and that will tend to make me face the corner. And then when I go into the back foot, this hip wants to stay forwards a little bit, which similarly will make me want to face the corner. So those are the two places where I have to really work to make sure my hips remain facing front. So when I come into my front foot, I have to really straighten my back leg. And then when I go into my back foot, I have to really straighten my front leg. And it's difficult because we're so used to forgetting the leg that we don't have the weight in, whereas really that's the important one. So this leg is supporting me, and this leg is really trying to push me round. And then this leg is supporting me, and this leg is pushing me around. So we have to work really hard to make sure the leg is straight. So here I'm having to tense this quadricep here to really make sure this back leg is as straight as possible. And then here really tense this muscle to make sure the front leg is as straight as possible. And then the other leg forwards. And then the other foot forwards again. And now just this exercise. They're all the same, really. It's all this one action of reaching out and pulling in, thinking of swinging through the trees like the monkey, or picking the apples from the tree. My mind is with the hand that's coming in. My energy is with the hand that's going out. If I have too much of my mind with the hand that's going out, I will block it. I'll block the energy. So my conscious mind is not compassionate. My conscious mind is selfish. It's my energy that's compassionate. My energy just wants to reach out and join with other energy. My conscious mind is always trying to bring things to me. And if I realize that, then I can just limit the domain of my conscious mind. I can blinker it so that it's only really with this space, and my energy is actually with the space beyond. Change the feet round. back to base. Feel the spine reaching the sacrum and branching into the legs. Feel the same sort of structure in the back here between the shoulder blades. It's as though you have another sacrum here, like a sort of dominant vertebra, which reaches out into the shoulder blades and down the arms. Let's try this one and go into the stepping exercise. So the heel sinking down and the other heel coming up. And really what I'm looking at here is the action of putting the weight in the leg. When I bring my weight into my left leg, there's a sense of sinking. There's a sense that I'm bending the knee and allowing a flow down through my body. But there also has to be a straightening of the leg, because if I just relaxed it and just let gravity do its work, I would just collapse, the leg would go, and I would end up as a heap on the floor. So part of me has got this sense of sinking and relaxing down the leg, but there's also a sense of the leg expanding and growing and supporting, becoming strong. Now, I don't want that action to actually bring me up. And this is where the root comes in, because as I sink into the leg, the straightening of the leg, the becoming strong of the leg, is what injects my root through my heel and into the ground. So I feel the leg bending in order to take me down, but I also feel it straightening in order to inject into the ground. It's like a gentle isometric exercise, but the forces can be quite strong because the two directions are so well balanced. So I can just put all of my weight here. My mind is with my weight. It's trying to make me as heavy as possible. You know, like a child doesn't want to be picked up. Suddenly they become very heavy. And there's another part of me that's driving against that in order to come up. And I want that to actually send me into the earth. So when I sink, I'm sort of settling onto the earth. I'm feeling its hardness, its flatness. My foot is spreading to increase its surface area. But at the same time, I'm straightening that leg to inject the needle of my root from my heel and into the ground. This is difficult because the mind has to be able to concentrate and see what's meant to be happening. The better you are able to concentrate, keep your mind on the job and visualize, the sharper and the finer the needle will be. If you find it difficult, it'll be very flat and blunt, and the root won't go down, it'll just settle onto the ground. There's something in my mind that has to be really sharp and pointed. I'm now just stepping with it. So I sink down into one root, enables me to pick up the other foot. I step, and as I transfer the weight, this root penetrates and this one comes up. And again, it's the two minds, the centrifugal and the centripetal. So when I bring my weight into the foot, there's an aspect of my mind that spreads out. It's wanting the foot to get as big as possible so that I have a lot of surface area in contact with the ground. So that's like the centrifugal aspect of my mind, the part that wants to reach and expand. There's the other part, the ruthless, detached part that wants to gather in and become this point of the needle in order to get past that interface with the ground, to get through the ground. So as I'm pulling into the foot here, there's a sense of the foot expanding, but as I go into the foot, there's a sense of something condensing into this point and going down through the heel. Let's try a bit with the other foot. Put the foot on the ground and just bring your weight into it in order to bring the other foot up. So what do you actually do This is when we spread the foot. I'm trying to get the foot as big as possible so that I can lift this one. Now, when we're doing it deliberately and slowly, that is there, but then I want to feel this sense of concentrating and condensing and becoming a point. So I put the foot down, it's sort of flat on the ground. And now as I bring my weight into it, if I bring my weight into it really slowly, then I can gather that weight about a point and let it pass into the ground. Riding horse again. And now let's try a little bit of waving hands in the clouds. As minimal as possible. So as much turning of the torso as possible, but as little movement of the arms as possible. Sink. The feeling that the bottom hand is connecting to the ground. My bottom hand is trying to get underneath this foot. I'm so close to the ground, there's a sense that my legs have disappeared. Back into the other ones. Again, just feel the centrifugal and the centripetal. Even though we're not turning, there's a sense of turning. And what turning does primarily is separate the centrifugal and the centripetal. So separate your mind and your energy. That's how you can think of it. So my mind is just gathering in to this cold, ruthless, detached center, which is my Dan Qian, the cold lake. And my energy is just emanating out into the room, filling the room with light and warmth. Remember that Hudson Smith quote, how he defines Zen? Infinite gratitude for the past, infinite service to the present, and infinite responsibility to the future. So for me, that defines the work. That's what the work does when you do it well. Primarily, you're serving the present. It's not something that you're doing for you. The people John always had the most respect for were people in the healing professions, people like doctors, nurses especially. People who selflessly attend others. And the thing that he hated more than anything was selfishness. That was the biggest, the most damning comment he could make about a person. Oh, they are selfish. Okay, now let's bring it up and just try and just keep that. So we don't want to break, we don't want to snap out of our meditation. We're stretching it. So now that connection that I have with the ground is being stretched because I've come up, but it hasn't broken. If anything, it's got stronger because it's like elastic. The more you stretch it, the more it pulls back. The mind is always trying to break its bonds of responsibility so that it can enjoy itself, so that it can indulge itself. Our work is really just trying to make more and more bonds, ligatures of responsibility. And that's what religion is really. Religio, religere, to rebind, to reconnect to the things that are important to be connected to, and just sever those connections which are working against you.